In this exercise, we're going to discuss stack dimensions. Chapter 9 talks about stack dimensioning. So I want to give you some examples of stack dimensioning, help explain and define it. This view is the dimensioned drawing coming. The dimensions are stacked because they're one on top of each other, or they're stacked vertically here. That is stack dimensioning. If you look at the top, you notice the dimensions 2, 4, and 6 are coming from the left vertical line. That line is your datum. The dimensions 1, 2, and 3 are coming from this line, the bottom line. That is known as three different things: stack dimensioning, datum dimensioning, or feature dimensioning. If I go to annotation and go to datum feature and select this face, notice it's crooked, it's not working right. Look in the top, see these? It wants to be updated, those little yellow views. So two things are happening. You either need to update or you need to double click on the front view to let it know you're working on the front view if this happens. I'll hit escape. I will select this update feature. And the reason why it's doing that is because back in the part itself, we're still in the sketch work environment. I'm going to exit out. When I come back into the drawing, if I update, the dimensions will come back as well as the view. So don't panic if that part disappears like that. It just needs to be updated. If it won't update right away, check your part. Make sure you're actually looking at the part and not the sketch. So, definition of stack dimensioning is stack dimensions are dimensions that come from the datum. These three dimensions come from the datums. If I select the datum here feature and I grab this line, that is datum A. Dimensions on the right, 1, 2, and 3, are coming from datum A. This dimensions 2, 4, and 6 are coming from this line here. So anytime you create dimensions that are from the datum, it's called datum dimensioning, stack dimensioning, or feature dimensioning. So the answer here to add to the question in your general notes: define stack dimensions. Stack dimensions are dimensions that come from the datum. The reason why we put dimensions on the drawing, datums on the drawing, is that we're telling the shop when they go to build the part, we want them to measure all these dimensions starting with this line. Not to come from this line down, we want to go from the bottom line up. So all measurements have to go from the bottom up. Again, to define stack dimensioning, it is informing the shop to dimension all dimensions from the datum. So the answer to the second question lists the three terms of dimensions in this exercise: stack, datum, or feature base. Those are the three terms: stack, base, stack, datum, or feature base dimensioning. Now, when you go to CATIA and we constrain this, This is stack dimensions. A good way to make sure that you've got all the dimensions in your drawing that are correct, look at your profile. If your profile is green, it's fully constrained. The same constraints you have on the profile are the constraints that you need in the drawing. In the drawing, these are called dimensions. These are not editable. They're dimensions that are created in the drafting workbench. In the sketch, they are called constraints. They're built in the Sketcher workbench. Unlike measurements in the part design workbench, measurements can't be modified. They're just simply a measurement of what you did in the sketch or the solid. Whereas constraints are editable parameters that will allow you to change your feature size. So that's the difference between constraints, measurements, and dimensions. And that answers question number 4, the differences between measurements and constraints and dimensions. List the 3 things that CATIA calls datums. The 3 things are anchors, fix, and reference elements. When you create your constraint, if you remember when we do sketch and use auto constrain, reference elements, when you click reference elements, you select this line and this line. I did that in the wrong order. I should select this line, that's datum A, this line, that's datum B. That's the reference element. And when you select a line and use the dialog box, fix, and see that anchor symbol, that's what identifies datums to CATIA. So datums to CATIA again are fix, anchors, and reference elements that you saw in the auto constraints pop-up window. Again, creating stack dimensions is simply dimensioning from the datums, and datums are telling a shop where to create their measurements from when they build your part. Hopefully that answers all your questions on the stack dimensions. Stack dimensions, again, dimensioning from the datums. The 3 terms of dimensions are stacked, datum, base feature. List the 3 things CATIA calls datums, fix, anchor, reference elements. Measurements are created in part design to measure an item. It is not modifiable. Constraints are created in the sketch workbench, which are modifiable parameters. Dimensions are created on the drawing sheet in the drafting workbench. How do you change the spacing? You go to a profile or pick one of the dimensions. The spacing is between the dimension lines. If you look in your figure 9-1 in your print reading book, it tells you the spacing should be a 1/4 inch minimum. Okay, so you can go 1/4 inch or more. Bottom line is the spacing between the dimension lines should be greater than the spacing from the part to the first dimension line of your stack dimensions. That's true in my sketch as well as my drawing. The distance from here to here should be tighter between these two than the distance from here to here. To change out, you click on a profile, right click, you click on a dimension line, right click, hit properties, and you look for a tab called system. In there, I can change out to a 1/4 inch. Click in no man's land, you see that the grouping from here to here to here is greater than the distance from here and here. Again, that is found in the properties under the tab called System, Offset Between Dimensions. Hopefully that gives you some clarity on why we've been putting all these datums on all these drawings and what their intentions are for.